Hi, this video is for those psychopaths that want to play a armor stacking Juggernaut on a relatively cheap budget. I say relatively because this will take you a minimum of 20 to 30 divines to get it up and running, but it's not just up and running. It'll be 20 to 30 divines to be able to do everything in the game pretty smoothly with just a few tweaks. So let's begin. I'm going to go over each of the items that I'm wearing currently, and then we're going to go over the POB. Okay, so first a general overview of what a armor stacker is. Well, by the name of it, we stack a whole bunch of armor. Right now I'm at 950,000 armor, and with flasks up I go up to 1.6 million armor, which is really strong because our weapons give us 1% increased attack damage per 450 armor. That's where most of our scaling comes from. That's any armor stacker will be using this weapon. This is the armor stacking weapon. The other weapon, we use the same one so that we can get double this. If you want more defenses, you can opt to wear a shield, but as a Juggernaut you do not need a shield at all. You can go all in on the damage much easier than a Scion can. Okay, for our armor, this is probably the most important piece. Not probably, this is the most important piece, because you need that mod over there. Armor is increased by overcapped fire res. So if you see here, I have 486% fire res overcapped. That means my armor is increased by over 400%, which is incredible. If I take this off, right? If I take this off, my armor goes from 950k to a measly 490k. This piece alone is giving me almost 500,000 armor. So you really need this. So I'll also go over the price of each different item a little bit later in the video. So ashes, the next big item. You do not need ashes for this build. I will link a POB that has just 3 million or 2 million less damage than me, and it doesn't use ashes. It uses a 1 divine amulet, or maybe 5 divines depending on if they're being sold or not. And you might know which one I'm talking about, but we'll go over that in a sec. After that we have our gloves, our boots, really simple life, fire res, chaos res, and as much evasion rating as you can get. That is because if we go over our skill tree, I'll go over the entire skill tree, but to begin with, we use iron reflexes. So a thing about armor stackers is they don't actually stack armor. They stack evasion rating, and then they convert all of that evasion rating to armor. Now you're gonna ask me, why don't they just stack armor directly? Won't that be cheaper or more efficient? You might be right, but if you look at the wording on Grace, this is a level 21 Grace gem. This gives us you and nearby allies gain 2700 additional evasion rating, and you and nearby allies gain 30% more evasion rating. And determination reads the following: you and nearby allies gain 2000 armor, you and nearby allies gain 50% more armor, and you and nearby allies gain 1% of evasion rating as extra armor. And this goes up to 4% evasion rating when we socket this in, because the levels go up, the quality goes up from ashes, which is why this gets stronger, but you don't need the quality much anyway. So this is what the wording is. Now you're thinking, okay, this gives us less flat armor but more percentage armor. This gives us more flat evasion, less percentage. Well, the reason we want to stack as much evasion as possible is because this gem, Grace, takes all that flat evasion that we're getting, converts it into armor, and then our armor, our determination gives us 50% more armor. If we only stack armor, if we only do armor, then grace does nothing for us. We lose a 30% more multiplier on our armor if we don't stack evasion. We still get determination, we're still using this anyway. So that is why we stack evasion. So if you say, I have evasion on everything, then I can have it on my helm, gloves, boots. This armor plate, grasping mails, this is a breach only armor base. You get this by selling 60 breach rings. Okay, breach rings, they only drop from breach, and it's a random chance that you get any one random modifier on this armor base. So you see, armor is increased by overcap. Fire res is a prefix modifier of Zoph. There are ones for Chayula, there are ones for other people. So you see there's a suffix of Ulnitol as well. But the thing about this armor is you cannot chaos spam, alteration spam, anything spam to get these special modifiers on them. These roll when you sell the breach rings, you get one of these mods, maybe if you're lucky, and then that's it. If you remove that modifier in any way, it's gone. Unless it's fractured, then it'll stay, obviously. So that is the thing with this armor. It's quite hard to get early on in the league, but now there's a lot of them. I got mine for 13 divines. It was a steal of a price. You might get this for around somewhere between 4 to 25 divines. If you want to go for the higher end one, I recommend going for a lower end one and crafting the suffixes yourself. You only need good prefixes on this, and I'll go over them on trade site in a moment in the end. So that is our armor, our gloves, boots. Let's go over the helm for a sec. I'm gonna put these back in. You basically need any helmet that gives you mana reservation efficiency. Now this one is a higher budget helmet. You can literally, and I did this myself as well, you can run with, where is it? Here is this. You can run with this helmet for the entire game if you want to. What is the difference between this one and that one? This one gives a 16% mana reservation. This is actually giving me less because I didn't need more, so I was just rolling on this with cheaper essences, right? So this is giving me 14% because that's all I really needed. But this gives me mana reservation, very important. It gives you level of socketed aura gems, also very important. You need to raise the level of your grace, your determination, your wrath, and well, Enlighten's just there for fun. Quick note, you do not need a level 4 Enlighten either. I got this and realized this afterwards that wait a minute, I don't even need this. And I'll show you why. Alright, so you can run with this as well. This will cost you around 100 C. That's it. This will cost you around maybe 3 or 4 divines. This will cost you around 100 C. This could cost you even more than that, but anyway, I digress. Put this back in. I'm selling for a bit more because this is 30% quality, it's max roll, blah blah blah. You don't need to do any of that. You don't need any of that. Rings. What do we have on our rings? We have one ring needs to have grace aura effect. That is the best one. You can find these extremely cheap. The base is 30C, and then I highly recommend just crafting the ring yourself using essences, and I'll go over how to craft each piece separately. The other ring has to be a curse enemies with conductivity on hit. This too is extremely cheap, not as cheap as grace, but the base is around 1 divines, maybe 2 divines, and then you can roll the modifiers yourself with essences as well. I just needed chaos res. I stopped the moment I hit chaos res, Everything else is irrelevant. You do need one open prefix to craft your non-channeling skills, otherwise you are screwed. Now, the main thing about this build, the reason why we have so much damage with such budget gear is because of this. Ignore the implicits for a sec, just look at the modifiers. We have armor, we like armor. We have life, which is good. We have 50% fire res, this can roll up to 60% fire res. We have +1 maximum endurance charges, and here's the special thing. Our endurance charges are converted to brutal charges. Now, what does a brutal charge do? Well, a brutal charge, where is it? A brutal charge gives us a chance to deal triple damage per charge. And since we currently have 4 max charges, 3 is the base, the belt is giving us 1 more, we have 4 brutal charges, which we have up almost all the time. So we basically have 12% chance to deal triple damage per attack. And with how fast we attack, if I show you our attack speed, totem up, blood rage up, not even using my flasks, we attack really quickly. So every 10 attacks or so we deal triple damage. We melt bosses. You will notice the difference when you hit a strike with triple damage. Now, to complement this, we have Anomalous Volatility, the new support gem, giving us more max damage. The moment you hit a high roll on this gem, along with triple damage, along with the massive range that lightning damage then can strike with, I once hit Maven from full HP to half HP when I high rolled a specific attack. And you attack so many times that it'll happen a lot. Then we have multi-strike, more attack speed, more damage, everything, elemental damage with attacks, lightning penetration, our smite skill, and we also have ruthless support. Ruthless support gives us every third time we use a supported attack, that skill does more damage. Now, this complements even more with our brutality charges, because if we get a brutality charge proc on our ruthless strike, you get the idea. It does a significantly obscene amount of damage. Now, there's one cheeky little thing I have added here, and that is Vigilant Strike, because I had 1 socket left over, and I really did not want to pay 10 divines, 20 divines for a replica Dream Feather with a implicit which has melee hits have a chance to fortify. So instead of having my Molten Shell on cast when damage taken, I instead have it on self-cast, and I use Vigilant Strike as my other socket. What does this do? No one's even heard of this gem, probably. But basically, this is a melee strike, is just a strike, and if you hit anything with this, you are fully fortified. You get 20 fortification for hitting anything with this. And it lasts for about 8 seconds, and the cooldown is also around 4 seconds. Cooldown time is 4 seconds, it lasts for 8 seconds, so you can have this up permanently on bosses, on mobs, while you're farming, while you're doing anything. Just occasionally strike with this, you'll have free fortify. If you don't want to use this, you absolutely do not have to. I'm using this because I don't have much life on me. Even though this much life is fine, I've played with 2400 life without Vigilant Strike, and I never died because this build just tanks up a lot. Because of the fact that we have so much armor, fizz damage is non-existent, and because we are Juggernauts, we are applying 8% of our armor to lightning, cold, and fire damage, which makes us basically immortal to elemental damage as well. On top of that, we have 2000 life regen per second with a 2700 HP pool. that basically heals us to full the moment we get hit. This also gives us really good defenses against damage over time because we regen. Along with that, I take even less damage over time with this, and even less chaos damage over time with this, and no poisons. Bleeds, you literally don't even feel the damage of bleed most of the time because our regen is so high. But if you do get inflicted with a little too many corrupted bloods, you can use this to clean it up. Otherwise, you're rarely ever using this flask anyway. Also, the other flasks, to go over them quickly, I have a Jade flask with increased attack speed, a Stibnite flask with increased evasion rating, a Basalt flask with increased armor, and a Ruby flask because more fire res means more armor. So this is basically a damage flask and a resistance flask for fire damage, and reduced effect of curses because I don't like curses. 64% reduced effect is good enough. So that is the overview of the build. Non-val strike skills target one additional enemy. This is great for clearing. Wipes off entire screens in seconds, not even seconds, a second. Most people use Fist converted to Lightning in their Eater of Worlds implicit. I don't really like that much, so I use Lightning Exposure instead. It gives us a lot more damage, and it works really well on those extra tanky mobs, especially in simulacrums. So that's that. This is the higher budget version. Now we're gonna go over the skill tree real quick. Alright, the main thing you're gonna notice that, hey, I have every single one of my travel nodes converted to aura effect. Every single one of these nodes is converted to aura effect except this one. This is just in case I roll cannot regen on a map. This will give me some leech instead, and just one of these tattoos is more than enough to sustain you because of how much attack damage we have. More, get the idea. And the way that we can have all those tattoos with no attributes is this timeless jewel. This is a very cheap timeless jewel. You can get this for 1, maybe 2 divines max, and probably much cheaper if you go for the cheaper options. It gives us supreme ostentation. You need to have a elegant hubris with Caspiro, the name Caspiro on it. That's all you need to get this notable over here, which says ignore attribute requirements, gain no inherent bonuses from attributes. Inherent bonuses are the things written on the attributes. Strength gives us some life, gives us some melee fizz, dexterity gives us evasion, intelligence gives us this, blah 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 blah. We don't get any of these anymore. We still get this. Gain accuracy rating equal to twice your strength. We do still get this. So if you accidentally have strength on one of your pieces of gear, you don't have to re-roll it because you are gaining something from it. This is also why we like accuracy, because we get attack speed per accuracy. It's really good. Yeah, so this, extremely important. You need this, otherwise you will have to roll attributes on all of your gear pieces. On your gloves, boots, rings, you will have to roll attributes on all of them, giving you way less leeway for other good mods, and it'll make self-crafting them even more expensive. So this elegant hubris, very simple. It turns off all the smaller nodes. We're only losing 3, but we're gaining no attribute requirements, and I also have some evasion rating and some aura effect. So that's really nice. Then I'm gonna go up here. We take elemental overload. Obviously, we have more aura effect. I am using a level of all strength skill gems tattoo. This raises, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We have 12 strength gems. You could use a dexterity skill gem as well. That could raise the level of your grace and your precision and your haste. It's useless. You could also use the Onslaught tattoo, which gives you Onslaught on hit. That is also really, really nice. But this is more damage as long as you have a Onslaught implicit on your weapon. It's not that expensive. You can skip the Onslaught tattoo and you can use this one. These tattoos are like 30 or 40 C now, extremely cheap. And I'll go over the cluster jewels right in the end. We use this node. We don't have any fire damage over time multipliers. Okay, we have none. The only reason we take this is so that we can have regenerated 1 life per second for each uncapped fire res. This gives us an absolutely massive amount of regen. If I take that off, I go from 2044 to 1300, which is really, really massive. So we are spending 1, 2, 3 points for almost nothing so that we can have 700 more life regen, which is points well spent. Then some life, some chaos res. We need all of these aura effect nodes: aura effect, mana reservation, mana reservation, mana reservation, and aura effect. We take this node. We do not need the energy shield here, but we need 10% of armor also applies to chaos damage taken from hits. This is only and only good in simulacrums, because simulacrums, they do fizz as extra chaos. So if you're running simulacrums, you take this. If you are not running simulacrums, you spec out of this entire node and you take an extra endurance charge and you take some extra life over here. Why is this not spec'd in? This should be spec'd in. Oops. Hang on a moment. Technical issues. I have no idea why I didn't have this spec'd in, but here we go. Yeah, so next we have our Watcher's Eye. So a quick explanation of this. You need to have non-channeling skills have minimum -9 to total mana cost. This goes up to -10. You do not need -10, you need -9. And any other mods you can get on this are good. Fizz taken as extra. Fizz taken as fire while affected by purity of fire. Fizz taken as lightning while affected by purity of elements. Fizz taken as whatever while affected by purity of fire or elements. Those are the 2 purities we use. Any wrath, any grace, any haste, any whatever you want. I got this for 3 divines, I think, which was a steal. You can get something very similar for very cheap. But if you can't afford any other mods, just go for the clarity one. Without that, the build doesn't work. That one will cost you literally 40 C. After that, we have our simple life, +1 maximum fire res, and more fire res. Obviously, we need that. A quick note about this. We use a Warrior's Tale Crimson Jewel. This jewel is around 120, 150 C. And this gives us 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12% aura effect. This one isn't in. 12% aura effect with 1 jewel as compared to 6% aura effect. If I take this off, if I take this jewel off, look at how low my armor goes. We lose 50,000 armor. We lose resistances. We lose +1 max fire res. We lose a lot, and we don't want to lose those things, so we keep it this way. Okay. After this, now here is the special endurance charge tech. As a armor stacking juggernaut, we don't really move much. We move a lot actually. We are very fast in moving. We can leap slam all over the place, but if you're fighting a boss or you're fighting something tanky, you stand still, you put up your thing, and you attack. Right? If you want to pop all flasks, you attack like this. With frenzy charges, with onslaught, you attack even faster. Okay, so why is that relevant for this? This gives us increased armor while stationary, which is great, right? It's great. While I'm stationary, you have this. Now, if I'm moving around, I actually have this much armor, which is a scam. Haha. Even that much armor is more than enough. But yeah, most of the time, if you're fighting a pinnacle boss, you're going to be standing still and DPSing, and then you're going to be running around. The standing still and DPSing and having all that armor is very, very nice. But mainly we take this node so we can get 25% chance to gain an endurance charge when you are hit. That allows us to not need unflinching, and we can take unstoppable instead, so that we can never be slowed or chilled or anything. This is an extremely powerful node, especially for delirium, for basically anything in maps that can slow you down. This is amazing. Okay, this thing, the only thing unflinching gives us is endurance charge generation, which is basically useless, right? We can, instead of an ascendancy point, we can spend 1, 2, 3 points and get this. I also took the armor mastery for extra percentage armor if I'm standing still. You don't have to take this, you can take whatever the hell else you want. You can go for plus 50 maximum life or even more life, even though you don't need life. Simple travel nodes here, by the way, just life, 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 more aura effect, more life. Here is our other mana reservation cluster. Auras from your skills have increased effect, increased reservation, effect, reservation and effect. Good stuff. We go over here, the most important node, iron reflexes. We take that one, more life, and we take increased evasion rating and armor, two very, very strong nodes. And then we take this node here, which gives us increased armor if we haven't been hit, or increased evasion rating if we have been hit. Okay, now one quick little extra thing before we move on to the cheaper POBs. You can use a pair of Kaom Spirit gloves. What do these gloves do? And Berserk. I'm just going to put it over there for a sec. Now, if you look, I turn this on. We have a absolutely massive amount of uptime on our Berserk because we have an obscene amount of life regen. Right? As you can see, my Berserk is just going. It's just going. It's still on, and it'll be on until now. You can do an extra thing. You can spec out of this, out of the extra evasion and armor, and you can take this instead. Now watch my Berserk. Just watch it. It will basically last for around 20 to 30 seconds. So for 20 to 30 seconds, you are playing the game. I can't include Purity of Fire in this because the colors aren't right. I recolored that one. So we have, this is our setup. It's still on, by the way. Watch this. It'll go, as the moment this thing procs, every 4 seconds you generate life equal to 1% of armor and evasion rating. That basically instantly fills up our Berserk. So for a massive duration, for boss fights, for mapping, for whatever, we basically play like this. The only downside to this is we have no regen anymore, so we purely rely on our life flask and that one tiny tattoo that I put in for some leech. It just turned off now, the Berserk. So this is great. It's an extremely large amount of damage, but for me personally, I don't really like using it because it feels unsafe. If you do get hit by something, you need to leech or pop a life flask, so it gets a bit spooky, but otherwise it's an absolutely ludicrous amount of damage. This gives us around 6 to 7 million more damage with Berserk on. Even though we have amazing gloves, they disappear when you compare them to Berserk. The implicits on this are basically non-existent. Ignore those. Okay, so some of you might have a small question. Why not use this belt instead? Grace has 57% increased aura effect, can go up till 60%. Well, the belt I have right now, this one, cost me around 5 divines. Even if you have only one implicit on this, with brutality charges, this gives you way, way, way more. Even without the determination aura effect, if it only has grace, you have around 200k not 200k, sorry. We have around 20k less armor. That's it. That's the only difference. You have 20k less armor if you have this equipped in place of this. And that gives us like 13% max life, fire res, endurance charges, 8 million damage. This thing doesn't give us any of that. This doesn't give us life, the most important. We don't get life out of this spell. We are getting life from this. Okay, if I take this belt off, I go down to 2400 life, which is pretty bad. Okay, so a quick thing about our links as well. We have Leap Slam, Defiance Banner, Ancestral Protector. This thing gives us an insane amount of attack speed. Don't forget to use this. Enlighten level 3, Purity of Elements, Anomalous if you can for increased aura effect, Purity of Fire for the additional max res and to scale everything, Haste and Val Haste, Divergent Precision to give us even more damage, Clarity so that we can use our Watcher's Eye, Arrogant Support so that we can reserve life for our Clarity, our Precision, and our Vitality. That is why I'm reserving around 700 life. You don't need that 700 life, trust me. Then we have Molten Shell that we manually cast. You can put it anywhere in your thing, doesn't matter, like wherever you feel like keeping it. Then we have our, not our Berserk, we have our Vigilant Strike. If you don't want to use Vigilant Strike, that you use a cast when damage taken here instead, so that your Molten Shell goes off on its own. I like Vigilant Strike. I like casting my own Molten Shell when something big is about to hit me. So there's that. For our helmet, we have our primary auras, which is Grace, Termination, Wrath, and an Enlighten. This can be an Enlighten level 3. Okay, so that is the build. I will show you a quick map showcase, and then I'm going to go over the budget versions with you in the POB. Let's go over a map real quick. Actually, let's not do a map. I remembered. Let's do a 107% Eater of Worlds instead, with 42% more monster life, 25% increased damage, avoid elemental ailments, poison on head, gain frenzy, gain power charges, all hits ignite, and less effective curses. So let's run that instead. This is how I have my setup. I have Molten Shell on this bar, and I have Val Molten Shell on the other one, depending on which one I need. If I'm about to get hit by something really big, Val Molten Shell. If I'm about to get hit by something big, just random Molten Shell. You're gonna ask, why am I not using a Topaz Flask? Because I don't need it. Just let our brutality charges stack up. We don't have any right now, and just look at the amount of damage we're doing. He's dying. He's disappearing. And you can see we aren't getting slowed by his balls because we have the Juggernaut ascendancy. I'm actually gonna tank this, maybe. Look at this. We can tank an Eater Slam easily, and now we just take hits. We take hits. We don't care about anything. We don't give a shit about a damn thing. And he's dead. We didn't get anything. Obviously, it would have been really nice if you draw something nice here, but you didn't. But yeah, that is the build showcase. Really, really, really strong, isn't it? Okay, now for the cheap POB versions. Let's go over there. So this is with a Ashes but no Enlighten level 4. So the only difference in this one is we use this helmet instead. If we have 16% increased mana reservation, everything else is the same. All the skills are the same. The entire tree is the same. Except for this, which I had fucked up, so I'm gonna fix that. There we go. Everything else is the same, We have 17 million DPS in maps. If I change that over to a Guardian Pinnacle boss, we have 13 million DPS. But as you saw, we have an insanely higher than 13 million DPS because of our brutality charges. Right, those are just a bit RNG, but you saw how quickly Eater Worlds were just melting, right? So there's that. And that's it. You use this helmet with your ashes. You will need a 20% reservation ashes. Ideally, if you can't have anything less because we are at 0% unreserved mana right now. You can't go any lower than this, so you will need a 20% ashes for this version. This version does not have Enlighten level 4 and doesn't have the other helmet either, so you save around 15 divines on this version. Then we have the other budget version, which is no ashes, no purity of fire, Enlighten level 3. What is this one? Well, this one is 13 million damage in maps and 10 million to boss. So this has around 3 million less damage to pinnacle bosses, and it's not using ashes. It's using a replica Dragonfang's Flight. This amulet, and it has level of all smite gems. You can honestly have level of all anything in here if you want. You can have level of all grace gems, you can have level of all germination gems, you can have level of all anything, whatever you want. But smite is usually gonna be the most damage from this, I think, unless you can mess around with things. But yeah, so a 15% reservation efficiency here will give you more than enough. You don't even need 15% on this. You can manage with 12% because we have a lot of unreserved mana this way. You can even drop one of your ring prefixes and take life because we have so much mana. We can actually drop one of the ring prefixes and use our mana to cast, and just rely on mana regen to get our mana back. And it actually works. If you take a look, if I turn off Purity of Fire, I take off a ring, we can actually sustain our smite pretty easily. So that's really, really nice. Right, so you can actually craft life on your rings this way. But yeah, the only thing this doesn't have, we have turned off. Why is Purity of Fire on? Oh, that's our weapon swap, never mind. Here, where did Purity of Fire go? Here, it is off. If you turn this on, you see we go into the negatives for mana reservation, so we cannot have our Purity off. So there is that. And that's your PUB. We still have our endurance charge when we are hit, when we are stationary. This is not taking into account if we are stationary, by the way. The extra armor for being stationary, if I do that, if I add in time spent stationary 4 seconds, we get even more damage. We get 1.4 million more damage by standing still for 4 seconds. If we stand still for 5, we get almost 2 million more damage if we are standing still. This is on the budget version. You're basically at 13 million damage, which is the damage you had with ashes with the budget version if we just stand still for 5 seconds. Insane, right? So, one thing I forgot to mention, my bad, here it is, that is the cluster jewels. Okay, so for your clusters, you will need 3 cluster jewels in total. You will need a large cluster with combat rhythm, drive the destruction, martial prowess. But your martial prowess is the one that you're not going to be using. You need to be on the lookout for this though. They need to be written a very specific way. You need martial prowess to be the last thing written over here. First and second can be swapped back and forth. Combat rhythm, drive the destruction. Combat rhythm, drive the destruction. But martial prowess has to be the third one. If martial prowess is in either of the first 2 slots, then it'll be over here. You'll need to spend an extra point to get to the one you want, and then you do not have extra points. This tree is very starved on points. So all 3 of your large clusters will look the same. Combat rhythm, drive destruction, martial prowess, same thing here. Combat rhythm, martial prowess. There will be one insatiable killer in these, which gives us attack speed, attack damage. Wait a minute. I've been using... I'm just... You don't need Drive the Destruction. I've been using this the entire time without realizing that I've been using the wrong cluster. I forgot I got this because now no other cluster existed at that time that I needed. Okay, ignore what I said in the last 5 minutes. Let's just go up to here. This is the right cluster. You need Combat Rhythm and Insatiable Killer as your two main ones. Combat Rhythm and Martial Prowess. You need Martial Prowess and Combat Killer. Martial Prowess and Combat Rhythm. These are the two you need. Please ignore the absolute brain fart that I just had. So you need Combat Rhythm and Martial Prowess first and third, and the second one is going to be the one in the middle over here. The second one is the one that can be any random trash. First and third need to be Combat Rhythm and Martial Prowess. Third one will be the same, hopefully Combat Rhythm and Martial Prowess. Middle one is Deadly Repartee. We don't need this, it's throwaway. And you don't need anything else here either. Mana regeneration, I don't need it. That was just the only cluster available. Same thing here. Elemental resistances, I don't really need them. It was just the only one available. You only get 1 point of that anyway, so it doesn't matter much. Okay, small clusters. This is where the aura stacker happens. You need 6 of small clusters with introspection on them. These will cost you 50C each. Ideally, if you can get fire res and life on these, that'll be way better. If you can get fire res, life, and increased effect, then that's the best jewel you can get, but that'll cost you way too much. Any increased effect on your small clusters will cost you a lot. You don't need them. I'm not running a single one with increased effect. They are all introspection with random other shit on them, right? None of them have increased effect. See, none of them. This is increases damage, which is nothing. And all of these cost me around 50 to 100 C. So there's that. Now we are done with the tree. We are done with the budget POBs. We're done with everything. Now I can go over the prices of everything and show you exactly how much you're going to be spending on this build. So we have our rings, amulet, we have our armor, we have our helmet, swords, belt, boots, gloves, small clusters, large clusters, and our tattoos. Okay, so that's everything, I'm sure. Yeah, that's everything. Rings, amulet, let me just check. Rings, amulet, helmet, armor, belt, gloves, boots, swords, flasks. You can roll them yourself, or you can spend like 20C, 25C on trade to buy these, your choice. Use when charges reach full. Obviously, gain 2 charges when you are hit, so that you keep on instantly getting full charges, never running out of charges. Your flasks are up all the time. Really good. And our Watcher's Eye, that's the one thing I miss. Watcher's Eye, and our Warrior's Tail jewel for the tattoos. Let's go over the rings first, shall we? So for rings, I already have everything open here. This is your cursed enemies with conductivity ring. These go for a divine minimum. Let's refresh this search so that you can get some more. A divine, 1.4 divines, 1.7 divines. Don't give a shit about any of this. Just look for item level 83. Right? Ideally, you can go for a lower item level as well, but I recommend item level 83. So you get this, 1.7 divines for this one, and then our Grace Aura effect, item level 83 is 30C, 40C, 50C. Dirt cheap. So let's say your rings combined cost you 2 divines, plus an extra divine to buy the essences to roll something good on them. So we have 3 divines for the rings. Amulet. I had it open here somewhere. Where is it? Here. Level of all the Smite gems. 50C. It's 50C. It's 1 divine. Wow. 1 divine gives you increased strength, dex. It has charisma. Is that the one we need? That is the one we need. Yeah. It already has charisma allocated as well, and it's 1 divine. If you're watching this, go buy this now. What the heck? Go buy this now. You don't need Purity of Ice, but go buy this. 1 divine for 15% reservation. It's insane. Or if you don't want to buy that one, you can get 14% reservation, but you can't go for that one if you're going for the budget option. You do need 15%. So if Smite is a bit too expensive, maybe you can go for Grace Gems. Yeah, look, Grace Gems are divine. Go for Grace Gems. Make your life easy. Go for Grace Gems. And you're done. You don't care about anything. You don't care about all elemental resistances much. You don't care about attribute requirements because you're going to be using a timeless jewel. You're all set with Grace. If Grace is not available, you can get Determination instead. If you want, this is even cheaper. This is 145C. Even cheaper. Completely your choice. One quick note to make as well. I have some alternate quality gems here. These are just for min-maxing. You do not need any alternate quality gems to make the build work. Anomalous Divergent Determination is really nice. You don't need it. You do not need it. It doesn't make a huge difference. I can show you. Divergent to default, our armor goes from 1.389 to 1.367. Literally just 13,000 difference, and this is a majorly expensive gem. You absolutely do not need this at all. Okay, yeah, so you don't need any all quality gems. You can run them all base. You do need Val Smite. Val Smite is nice. Val Smite does a good amount of damage and gives you a nice little aura effect. So then we have our alright, so yeah, our amulet is 1 divine. Armor, this is where it gets a bit spooky, right? Because armor is the main thing we need. Cheapest one is 4 divines with armor is increased by overcap fire res. What you want to do for armor is just find one that has good prefixes. Find one with good prefixes only. Ignore the suffixes. Just look at the prefixes because armor increased by overcap fire res is a prefix. We cannot change this, roll over this, nothing. We can't touch our prefixes ever. Okay, so let's see. Let's keep scrolling. Look at this one. This one is 10 divines. 110 maximum health, 437 evasion rating, and armor is increased by overcap fire. This one's incredible. If you watch this, go buy this now. This is amazing. The suffixes are cold res. You need fire res on all of your suffixes, by the way. You can change your cold res to fire res using a harvest craft, so that is fine. Strength is also actually pretty decent. You can use that with your Juggernaut Ascendancy. So the suffixes on this are pretty much done. Minions have a chance to poison. That's not really anything we need. Worst case scenario, if you do find one with perfect prefixes but bad suffixes, you can use a Eldritch Chaos Orb to re-roll suffixes. Please make sure Eater of Worlds is dominant so that only your suffixes get re-rolled, not your prefixes. If you roll your prefixes, they're gone. So that's armor. I'm going to put armor at about, I'll put it at 20 divines. Actually 15 divines. 15 divines for your armor. Helmet, I already showed you the helmet, the Alpha's Howl, where'd it go? 40C. It's 40C. Purity of Element, Enchant, 40C, that's it. It's 40C, basically nothing. Then we search for our replica dream feathers. Really, really important. These are the main weapon for the build. What you want to be looking for here is 10% increased local attack speed. That's a given. You need 10% increased attack speed. Attack speed is the name of the game. You need attack speed. After that, do not sort by DPS. Do not sort by DPS. Sort by this number instead. This number. The higher this is, the better the sword will be. So the highest, this is an incredible roll, by the way. This is a near max rolled physical damage, max attack speed, 190 armor, and decent accuracy rating as well. This is perfect. You should definitely buy this. If not, go for the next cheapest option, which is 2 divines, and then go for the next cheapest option, and then again another 2 divines. So I'm going to put your 2 swords at around 6 divines, 7 divines. You don't have to go full on the max rolls of everything. You can upgrade them afterwards as well. You don't even need to have implicits on them. Onslaught on kill. Let's just check how much that is. Onslaught. Let's just add our onslaught implicit here. It's 2 divines, and that is a max roll, max attack speed roll, really good damage roll as well on a onslaught on kill sword. This is actually better than the one I'm currently using. Go grab this. If the quality is 0, that's fine. You can use some tainted currency to up that quality. I used one on mine to get it to 26. I can probably get this to 30. I'm just too lazy to do it. So those are our swords. I'm putting them at 7 divines. Then we have our belt. So we use our An's Anguish. Am I typing that right? Arns. Anguish cloth belt. Dirt cheap. Right, but we do want our grace has increased aura effect on this. Very important. It's 15 chaos. Now you can prioritize anything you want on it. You can prioritize armor, life, or fire res. Ideally, what I do is I will write in 14% life, at least 680 armor, and then we sort by fire res and see what we got 3 results. This one has 54% fire res, 14% life, 692 armor. This is an absolutely insane one. If you want, you can also go for it like this. You can scratch off all of this and instead go implicit. Check for double implicit modifiers and see which one is nice. There's only 2 of them right now and they're both pretty garbage. You know, you're not using malevolence and you're not using zealotry, so you don't need these. But yeah, belt, maximum you're going to be spending on your belt is going to be 1 divine for a good double implicit. I'm not even going to put that, I'm going to put in 100C. Boots. You need chaos res, you need life, and you need fire res, and as much evasion rating as possible. So let's just search up boots with around 700 evasion, chaos res, life, and fire res. And just search. Oops. Search. We have 11 results. Let's take a look. I'm going to sort by life. The best one here is a 1 divine boot. It's giving us dexterity. We do not need dexterity. We go next. 5 divines. Fuck that. 40C. Look at this. Look at this. 40C. Life, chaos res, crafted fire res, and dexterity. 40C. That's extremely dirt cheap. There's also this one. You can roll these implicits off by using Eldritch currency. This one is actually really good. 56C. Not a lot of chaos res. Good life, good evasion, okay-ish fire res. We do not need any spell suppression on this build. This one's an okay pair, but we don't need the spell suppression. This one also has less life on it. Overall, you get the idea. Right? They're not expensive boots, but what I would recommend would be to buy your own pair. That'll be the last part of this video to how to craft your gear. Right, so boots, I'm going to give boots 1 divine. if buying, maybe like 150C max if crafting. This can be 1 to 2 divines even. Gloves, same thing with gloves. We want high evasion. Look at my gloves. Fire res, life. I don't even have chaos res on mine. Right, so let's see. Chaos res, life, fire res. We have a few results. 19C, spell suppression, we don't need it. Dexterity, we don't need it. 45C, pretty good though. Chaos res, lightning res, fire res. It's good. These are just good gloves. Mana kill for enemy kill, we don't really need this, but it has chaos res, fire res, life, and good evasion, so we can take this. 1 divine, this is actually the best one here. Accuracy rating, evasion, life, high fire res, high chaos res. I'm even considering buying these because these are just straight up better than the ones I have right now, which is kind of insane. I self-crafted these like very budget and I was lazy. Mine are significantly worse than this. I might actually buy these after the video. Then we have our more spell suppression ones. We don't need those. Ideally, instead of accuracy rating, you want attack speed on your gloves instead. If you can't hit attack speed, accuracy rating is fine because accuracy rating also does give us attack speed, which is okay. So gloves, I'm gonna say, are gonna cost about 1 divine. Small clusters. Small clusters, if you go over here, I have them open. Where are they? Here. All I did was search up introspection. You get them for, if I refresh this, you get these for 35C, 50C. This one's 50C with chaos res. Definitely go pick this up. This is an extremely good one because we need ways to cap our chaos res on this build. Cold res, you don't need attributes. You do not need strength much. Try to go for things like these. Fire res, try to go for fire res or chaos res. Anything with life on it would be nice. Flat evasion, life, flat armor, things like these. So I'm gonna say each one is gonna cost you around 70 max. So 6 of these, 70 times 6, that is 420 chaos. 420 chaos, that's about 2 divine. I'm gonna put this at 2 divines. Large clusters. Okay, so just so I can remind my foolish brain, we need our combat rhythm and martial prowess. So we just search up combat rhythm and martial prowess, and we search up this way, right? And we need these on. Oops. Attack damage while dual wielding, because we are dual wielding, we are not holding a shield. If you are holding a shield, if you want to use one sword and a shield, you would get attack damage while holding a shield instead. Now we need to find ones with three of these. 2 of these makes one go on the side and the other one too far away. We need 3 passive skills. So we scroll, we keep scrolling. Did I see a 3? Here's a 3. But you see here, we need combat rhythm and martial prowess as our first and third. Okay, this is not that. This is calamitous is first and martial prowess is third. Don't get fooled by it. Combat rhythm and quick and deadly, we do not want this one. We keep going. Combat rhythm and martial prowess, you want this one. It is a 100C. 100C. Combat rhythm, martial prowess, 120C. Combat rhythm, don't get this one, don't get scammed. Combat rhythm, martial prowess, 180C. 180, 120, and 100, that is 400C. So let's say 2 divines for your large clusters as well, maximum. Tattoos, these are gonna be a little bit on the expensive side, but the thing about these tattoos is you don't need all of them. You can slowly buy these over time as you accumulate more currency. Each of these goes for 50C, right? Yeah, 50C, 52C at most. So 50C, and we need around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27 of these tattoos. Now, it's too late in the night for me to be doing math, so 50 times 27 is 1350 chaos. That divided by the divine rate is 5.8 divines, so 6 divines for the tattoo. Okay, so I accidentally hit stop recording and I was done with the price breakdown, so I'm gonna record this again. Really annoying. I basically finished the video after that, so I'll go over it again. So tattoos, 6 divines, can be done over time. That means that if you don't want to buy all of your tattoos at once, you can buy 1, 2, maybe 3 tattoos. Ideally, you want to place them around the warrior's tail initially because they have more effect there, and you can slowly over time get more and more of them as you accumulate more currency. Okay, your Watcher's Eye. Okay, we search up Watcher's Eye with non-channeling skills while effective 30. You put in -9 because we need -9. And these go for extremely cheap. This guy just put his up for 50C, unaffected by elemental weakness, and -9 to total mana cost. The only thing you need here is life. You don't need ES, you don't need mana, you just need life. I know I have some ES here, that's because of my armor. I don't need this ES. It's just there. It's what I had on it. I can't really roll that over unless I'm insane that I want to annul that modifier, and it comes with armor as well, so I'm gonna keep it. Yeah, you can get any combination of modifiers you want as long as clarity mana cost is on there. You can get physical damage with extra lightning. You can get let's see, you can get we don't need immunity to ignite because we are already ailment immune. You can get a fizz taken as fire damage. This is pretty nice. I would highly recommend getting a fizz taken as X thing. Very, very nice. You want to mitigate fizz damage into elemental damage because the elemental damage is being mitigated by armor, and so is your fizz damage. This makes you extremely tanky. You can take this one, fizz damage taken as cold damage while affected by purity of elements. If you can, try to get either 2 different fizz damage taken as modifiers along with the clarity one. That might cost you like maybe 3 divines at most, or 4 divines, but that's like the best thing you can get. If not, then get something like this, increased lightning damage while affected by wrath, and this, or you can get a debuffs on you expire faster. You can get onslaught for 4 seconds on kill while affected by haste. That'll basically mean you no longer need to use this implicit on the sword, which could be really, really good. Right, you can get any other implicit you want here in that case, which is actually opens up a lot of space. And this is only 2 divines. So that's why Watcher's Eye, maximum of 2 divines. Don't spend more than this unless you want to go for a really, really good one. So if you total all of this up, right, 3, 4, 19, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 39, 40, 41, 42 divines. 42 divines, don't be scared. I'm going to lower this number right now. 6 divines for the tattoos. You're not going to be buying all of them at once to get the build going, so we're going to go down to 36 divines. You don't need expensive rings to get the build going either, so we can cut off 1 divine there. We can go down to 35 divines if you can't afford the conductivity ring. 35 divines. You can save a lot on the armor piece. I wouldn't recommend saving on it though. I would recommend spending most of what you have trying to get the best armor possible so that you don't have to change it afterwards, so that you can just have 1 piece of armor and use that for the rest of your league almost. Right, so 15 divines for the armor. Don't spend less than that, I guess, unless you find a really good one, or you can spend more, spend less, whatever you want. Swords, you can get them for 4 divines each, 2 divines each, total of 4 divines. You don't have to spend 7 divines. If you want to, go for it. I won't change the price of that either. Boots and gloves, you can save an entire divine orb here, maybe more if you craft them yourself. So I'm going to go for 34 divines if you craft your own boots. And so that's where we're at. We are at 34 divines. 34 divine orbs for maximum fun and minimum issues with the build. Okay, so that's how much you need. Now I'm gonna go over how to craft your own gear and what you need for it. I'm gonna make a quick check. Am I recording? I am. Okay, good. Alright, here we are in the crafting guide for this video. This build guide video, or whatever you want to call this. I have written every single piece of information you need in the POB notes section. Every single thing, how you craft them, what base you need, what essences you need, how to get everything and anything. So yeah, and I also included the Eldritch implicits and a few extra tips in there. So if you have any questions, you can always just leave a comment. I'll try to answer it. Let's begin. Let's start off with armor. I'm going to be using Craft of Exile to emulate all of these crafts. Go body armor, I go strength, dex, int body armor, grasping mail, whatever item level, it doesn't matter. We go here, we want our, where is it? Some prefixes. Other armor is increased by overcap fire rest. We take this. We take our life. Let's say the armor you guys bought has life on it, tier 4 life maybe, and maybe it has a, let's say it has the same thing mine had, which is armor and ES. Right, so this, we have all of our prefixes. For these suffixes, we can add random garbage. Garbage, and garbage. So the way to do this is we use Eldritch Chaos Orbs to reroll our suffixes. If you do not know what an Eldritch Chaos Orb is, it is this. If the Searing Exarch is dominant, reroll your prefix modifiers. If the Eater World is dominant, reroll suffix modifiers. Okay, so an Eldritch Chaos right now goes for about, let's see, is around 50C each, so this can get a little bit costly if you are unlucky. So we need our red guy, the Searing Exarch, to be dominant, to be less dominant, so we just use a lesser ember there, a greater ember here, and now we can start spamming our Eldritch Chaos. So, well, I was gonna say, ideally we want to hit tier 1 of a certain resistance. We hit tier 1 cold res. Now we can turn this tier 1 cold res, as I said, we can turn this into tier 1 fire res. Right, tier 1 cold to fire. And now we have tier 1 fire res. So this is a really good one, but as you can see we have 2 empty suffixes in this one. So the way we fix that would be we YOLO an Exalted Orb. So we go in here, we go into crafted modifiers, and we craft on the thing we do not need. Right, so here we want chaos res. We're even okay with lightning res or other forms of res like cold res. We do not want attributes ever because we are using the timeless jewel. Even physical damage reduction is okay. This space can roll spell suppression as well, that's also okay. So we are going to block attributes. The 2 attributes that we don't want at all are dexterity and intelligence, so we block that. And then we hit it with an Exalt and just see if we get lucky. We did not get very lucky. We hit regenerates life. It's not the worst modifier, but it's okay. Right, we hit that one, and then we just craft on our fire and chaos res, and we are good to go. Let's see that you did not hit tier 1 res in the first one. You go again. This is pretty bad. You go again. This is alright. Like, you can keep it, I guess. Strength is usable because of the ascendancy. Intelligence is not. You can change the cold res. You go again. We don't really need suppression in this build at all. Stun and block recovery is horrible. It's horrible. You can also, if you want, you can also stop at tier 3 res. It's fine. Intelligence, no. Strength, no. Lightning res, no. Intelligence, no. Strength, no. This is okay. You can also just you can also do this, which is you go into, where is it? You go Syndicate. You go prefixes cannot be changed, and you slap this with a veil modifier instead. Easily slam, veil modifier, you get a veil suffix, you unveil, and you can get something interesting, like you can get a higher tier of cold and chaos res, you can get a chance to avoid being shot, you don't want this, you can get 20 up to 20 chaos res. I don't recommend this at all because the best thing this can give you is mostly just resistance. If you go veiled, you look at suffixes, these are all the ones that you can get. We don't need any of these at all. We don't need percent increase attributes or avoid elemental damage from hits during soul gain prevention. We don't want a single one of these. The only thing we would want would be chaos res, but that's not worth it to spend 2 divines on prefixes cannot be changed, so don't do it. Right, if you don't want to roll your own suffixes, if you don't want to spam Eldritch Chaos Orbs, there's one other thing that you can do, which would be, if your suffixes are empty, which they won't be, you would have to make them empty. So we go prefixes cannot be changed. Hey, let me just this in and remove a random modifier. Prefix cannot be changed, and you scour this. Now you only have some nice clean prefixes, and then you just craft on multi-mod. Multiple crafted modifiers. Am I going insane? There we go. Craft up to 3 crafted mods and just go fire res. The highest tier of fire res that you can craft, which is this one. You get tier 1 fire res craft, and you go fire and chaos res, and there's your armor. But you can go with this route as well. It is going to cost you about 4 divines, 2 divines for prefixes cannot be changed, 2 divines for this, but this is a guaranteed way to hit around 50 fire res and 15 chaos res on your gear. But this will cost you 4 divines minimum. You can save a lot by using Eldritch Chaos Orbs and maybe getting lucky. Right before recording, I hit this with a random Eldritch Chaos and I got tier 1 Chaos Res, which was really lucky. Here we get tier 4 and Dexterity. We don't want Dexterity. Fizz damage reduction, Lightning Res. You get the idea. It will take you 4 Eldritch Chaos Orbs is equals to 1 divine. So instead of spending 4 divines, you can spend 16 Eldritch Chaos Orbs and you might get something better. But it's up to you. So next we have our boots. So let's go back and let's make our boots. So boots, dex base. Ideally you want a base that has the highest base evasion rating, which are going to be either Shagreen boots, stealth boots, or slink boots. You can also use Storm Rider boots, and you can override the implicits by just hitting it with an Eldritch anything. Let's go with slink boots because those are the best ones. Go slink boots, get yourself a evasion. Get yourself a evasion game trolling me? Oh, I'm just dumb. I'm searching suffixes. So you get number 2 evasion, tier 1, and you get this fractured. Right, so you buy this off a trade, you get any tier 1 evasion fracture on your boots, or you can get tier 1 life fracture. Right, you can either get a tier 1 life fracture or you get tier 1 evasion fracture. It doesn't matter. So in my case, I'll be using tier 1 evasion fracture because this gives us more damage. Life is... you don't really need life. Right now we spam essences on this until we hit the modifier we want. So we go essence, we go greed, deafening essences of greed, and we just keep on hitting until we find what we want. You want to prioritize chaos res, life. We're already getting life because we have our evasion fracture, but if you don't have your evasion fracture, if you have a life fracture, then you prioritize this. Okay, and fire res and an open suffix to craft fire and chaos res. You don't need movement speed. Here we get percentage increased evasion. This is good, but we need this to be way higher tier. Tier 1 movement speed, as I said, we don't need it. You don't need that either. So this one is a very, very good example of basically what you can stop at. You have tier 2 chaos res, tier 1 lightning res that you can convert into fire res. I'll just do that right now. Right, lightning to fire res, lightning to fire res, and then we have an open prefix, and then in that open prefix we just craft on percentage increased evasion rating. Here it is, tier 1, and we have our boots done. And this is a very low roll. That's good enough. Right, 69 increased evasion rating. So this gives us a total of 739 increased evasion. One other thing, if you don't want to get a evasion rating fracture, then you can go for a life fracture instead. The reason for this would be that a life fracture, hang on, if I remove this, you can get a life fracture and then you can spam your evasion. Actually no, you can spam doubt essences instead. If I fracture this, I unfracture that, you can spam doubt essences instead, but this would give you less evasion rating as compared to a tier 1 fracture. So do take that into account. Right, so besides that, now we have our gloves, and we will be doing the same thing to the gloves as well. Gloves, dex gloves, again pick slink gloves, highest evasion rating, go for these, done. Exactly the same thing here, you get a evasion rating fracture. You can either go for a flat evasion rating fracture or you can go for percentage increased evasion rating fracture. Whatever you want to go for. I prefer going for flat evasion rating and then getting percentage evasion rating just randomly, but it's your choice. Right, you get this. Let's get a higher tier of that. That's bad. There we go. Fracture. You can get these bases off a trade site for like 40 to 50 C, so you don't have to worry about them. Right now we just make this rare so that we can now spam our essences. And again, we go with deafening essence of greed for more life, and then we try to find fire res, chaos res, and ideally some attack speed as well. So we're gonna roll and see if you can find it. We got tier 1 accuracy rating, and as I said, if I've mentioned here, accuracy rating is okayish. I even had accuracy rating on mine because I got lazy, because accuracy rating does give you attack speed because you're a Juggernaut. But ideally you want attack speed, and this has no res, so we're going to keep going until we don't want spell suppression. We don't want spell suppression. We get some attack speed there, but we don't want it. This will take you a few essences, but greed essences are really cheap. This is like 3C per click, which is not that much. Alright, so here we do have our tier 1 Chaos Res. However, we have a shitty roll of decks. So you could go YOLO now. We removed our life, so we go again. Here we do have some tier 2 elemental resistances. However, we don't really need them. We need chaos, and we can't change our res into chaos. So we keep going. This one's being quite difficult apparently, but we're gonna keep going. Wow, getting extremely unlucky with this one. Let's, for example, think that you ran out of green essences. You just couldn't hit Chaos Res. But you need to be Chaos Res capped. So we use Envy essences instead. These are a bit more expensive, so you can go for tier 2 instead of tier 1. But let's say if you're tier 2, let's roll with this. We hit tier 9 life. Let's go again. So okay, look at this. We hit tier 2 Chaos Res and tier 2 life. This is pretty decent. We also have percentage increased evasion rating, so our prefixes are done. For our suffixes now, let's just stop here because we already have spent quite a few essences, and we can stop here till we have more currency to get better ones. So we will craft on, again, we don't want attributes, so we're going to craft on attributes. Dexterity and intelligence, craft that on, and we hit it with an exalt. We got cold res. That is actually very good because we can change this cold res into fire res. Even though it's a low tier, it still works for us, and then we can craft on our attack speed. Percentage increase attack speed, and there we have our gloves done and dusted. Sure, took a few essences. We can mix and match. You can, if you're not getting it with greed, you can use envy. I've mentioned that here as well. That or spam envy essences until you hit fire res and evasion rating. If you have a life fracture, or if you have a life fracture, keep going until you hit good life and fire res. You can also stop if you get evasion rating, so I'll just add that in. You can also stop if you hit percent evasion rating on either fracture with chaos res. Okay, so gloves, exactly the same thing. Rings, now let's do rings. These will be a bit tricky because we need to have a very specific base, as I mentioned. No ring. You can get any sort of ring you want, except do not go for a, I can't even see it here for some reason. Where is it? Okay, it's not here. But basically you don't want to go for a bone ring, because that ring can roll minion modifiers. It increases the pool of modifiers that you have to avoid. So just don't go for a bone ring, go for any other ring. The implicit does not matter because this will have a synthesized implicit. So we go here, we take this, we change the implicit to have conductivity on it. Right, so now that is our implicit. What? No, my bad. Curse. I being a big dumb, I need to syndicate. You know what? Hang on. Let's just imagine for a sec that this has the syndicate modifier implicit in here, because I'm actually not sure how to put that in Craft of Exile, so we're just gonna pretend that it has it. Alright, so one of your implicits here, those don't matter in the crafting anyway, so then we make this rare, and now we use essences. As I've written here, we use Essences of Torment for more flat damage, or Deafening Essence of Doubt for more evasion, armor scaling. If you want more damage now, At your budget version, you will use Torment Essences. Am I recording? I am. If you want more damage afterwards, you will use Doubt Essences, because in the future, your evasion rating will scale up heavily from flasks. Maybe you're using a Mage Blood, something. So Doubt Essences will be better in the future, and they will also give you more tank. So it's completely up to you which one you want to use. Evasion rating and lightning damage to attacks are both prefixes, so it doesn't really matter. You're not filling up a different slot by doing anything. So we roll until we hit. Need to prioritize life, chaos res, fire res, and maybe elemental damage with attack skills. If you get this, that's a lot of extra damage, so keep it. But we do need an open prefix for minus mana cost. Also, I've mentioned here, if you have Purity of Fire enabled with Ashes, that is when you need this. Without Ashes, you will have enough mana to only need minus mana cost. To only need minus mana cost on one ring, and you also don't even need a Watcher's Eye for mana cost either. But do be careful of no mana regen maps. So if you look here, I can show you, I can take off one of my rings, one of my mana cost rings. I can turn off Purity of Fire, and I cannot do this yet. Oops. And I'm fully sustaining my Smite this way. And if I take off my Watcher's Eye, I can sustain it this way as well. I can still sustain my Smite. The only problem is, if you're using other abilities as well, right, you're moving around, Leap Slime also takes 3 mana, right, your Molten Shell costs 6 mana, so you see after a while, if you're using more things, if you have more attack speed, especially because of your totem, you will not be able to sustain this without a Watcher's Eye. So do have at least your Watcher's Eye enabled with one ring. You basically need 2 out of these 3 pieces if you do not have your Purity of Fire enabled, which you won't if you don't have an Ashes. So there is that, and I have mentioned that here. Chaos res, yeah, fire res, elemental damage. So let's go back to our craft, torment, and we start clicking. Elemental damage with attack skills, we don't have anything else in our suffixes, so we go again, and we keep on going. You cannot use envy essences to give you chaos res here. It gives you chaos damage. You can't use greed for life. You can't use anything for the most part. Right, you have to manually do this. We hit tier 1 evasion rating and tier 1 fire res with lightning damage. Now this is actually a really good one. Thing is, it has an open suffix and an open prefix. So what we do is, we need that open prefix, right? So we craft on mana. Right, we can just craft any sort of oops. We craft literally any prefix just to close that up, and then we just Exalt Slam, and we hit lightning res, which is fine. It'll help us in our ultra maps where our resistances are getting lowered, and there it is. And now we just go and we craft mana cost. Non-channeling skills have number 12 mana cost. We get not this one, non-channeling skills, my bad. We get, why do I keep clicking the wrong thing? Remove this. Non-channeling skills have this, craft that on there, and there we go. I crafted the wrong variant of it because I am goofing. Non-channeling skills, this one, -7. Alright, that is what you need, and your ring is done. Your other ring will look similar to this, right? Try to hit chaos res on the other one. It's not that hard to hit. You can use doubt essences as well. We hit tier 1 life here, which is pretty good, and tier 1 fire res. This is fire res. Any res is fire res, and accuracy rating, which is also decent. So we can do the same thing here as well. You can just craft on your mana cost if you want, instead of a random craft, and just slam it with an Exalt. Damage taken recouped as the life is actually really nice. It gives us more regen, even though we don't really need regen because we have enough of it as is, but it's not a bad one. So there it is. Ring is done. Next we have our helmet. Nothing crazy here, it's just you go here, you grab yourself a lion spelt helmet that has the most base evasion. You put on socketed prefix. This would be level socketed aura gems. Hang on, aura. Level of socketed aura gems fractured onto this. Right, not the essence version, the other version, which is this one. Put that on there. This is a delve modifier, so we have our socketed gems of the underground +2. Fracture this costs you about a divine, maybe less, maybe more. Right, and then we make this rare. And then we slam our loathing essences because we need mana reservation. You can use deafenings or shriekings or screamings. It just depends on how much reservation you need to fit in your auras. And we just keep on going until we ideally hit life and probably chaos res. I needed chaos res on this, so I kept rolling until I hit chaos res. You can stop wherever you want. That was chaos res in the back. If I go back, we hit tier 1 chaos res. We have 2 prefixes. They're not good prefixes, but we do need 1 open prefix so that we can craft on the level of socketed AoE gems into this. Boom. And here we have our +3 helm. This does not cost that much to craft. You can very easily craft this, and then you just Eldritch currency this to give it mana reservation in the implicit along with conductivity curse effect. And there it is, your helmet is done. Right, you need your open prefix, remember that, you need the open prefix for level of socketed gem craft. You can also unveil this to get +2 level of socketed gems if you're crazy. So yeah, small clusters. This is extremely easy. Extremely easy. You go here, you go cluster jewels, you go small cluster jewel, you go mana reservation. Item level does not matter much. You just do this and you alteration spam until you hit introspection. Or if you hit percentage increased effect, then you can aug and regal and see if you can hit it that way. So if I keep going, 25% increased effect, I'm gonna regal, see if I hit. I do not hit, so I will scour, transmute, go again. This does not take that many tries at all. These are alteration orbs, remember that, these are extremely cheap. So you can keep going until you hit a let's see, how many tries will this take? This is counting how many we are using, by the way. We get increased effect again. I didn't get lucky. Okay, so here we hit our introspection, and along with it we get +6 to all elemental resistances. This is actually very good because this is basically +6 fire res, and the more fire res we have, the better this is. That's great. Now we regal. We also got flat evasion rating, which is also really good, and if we want we can exalt slam, and we got chaos res. This is actually a really good one. You can probably sell this for multiple divines. But yeah, that is it. You need a 3 passive skill evasion rating, not evasion rating, 3 passive skill mana reservation efficiency cluster. I have mentioned that here as well. You need 3 passive skills on this, not 2. Right, so that's your small clusters. I need to craft 6 of these that way. And what do we use? We use 93 alteration orbs, 3 regals, and exalt. We don't have to use the exalt anyway. 2 scours and 3 transmutes. That is way less than 50 to 60 C. These go for 50 to 60 C, maybe more depending on what the other modifiers are. So done with that. Now I'll show you how to craft the large clusters, but these are incredibly annoying to craft. One thing about these, by the way, the large clusters, right? So if you go over here, as you know, earlier in this video, I made a bit of a oopsie when I was searching them up. So I told you that you need them to be written a certain way for them to be in the middle, like you need it this way, first and third or something. That is wrong, actually. You don't need that at all. One moment. I am recording. Good. Okay. So you don't need that at all. You actually need to make sure it has 8 or 9 passive skills, first of all. And also you need to just copy this. Copy item. Go to your POB. Go to your items. Go over here. The hell happened to the POB? Go to create custom. Paste it here, create, add to build, and then we just added Plague Shine. Click this, and then we check on our tree if this matches the display combat rhythm, fuel the flight. So you see, you need to like rinse and repeat this because you want martial prowess and combat rhythm, but big disclaimer, these nodes don't give you that much damage, right? Because this node here is just giving me 371k damage. Martial prowess would give me 500k damage. It's not that much since we're already in millions of damage anyway, and this might end up costing you multiple divines to get the right one. If you can craft it yourself, that's great, but even crafting yourself might be a bit annoying. But the way to do it is the following. You either use harvest crafting, you go harvest, you go reforge, you go attack, or you go reforge speed. Both of them work, and you just keep going until you hit it. Speed is a bit less, so you ideally want to go for reforge attack and keep on spamming until you hit the one you want, which is gonna be very, very annoying. You can also do this with fossils. You can use serrated along with shuddering fossils, 2 of these, and just spam these until you hit the one you want. You want combat rhythm and martial prowess. Those are the most damage ones. You can also get other ones as well. It doesn't really matter that much. Right, so if you're running out of currency, you can run on a budget version, which I'm running here because I got lazy. I'm running this one, which is just Drive the Destruction. This is giving me no attack damage at all, by the way. This is giving me no damage. I am never on full life because I have reserved life, and I'm also always taking a slight amount of damage from my Blood Rage degen. This is giving me good damage, so try to at least have combat rhythm because this gives you 10 attack speed. So yeah, that is all for large clusters. You can do it this way, you can do it whatever way you prefer. After this, we have our... oh, that's it, we are done. Eldritch implicits, they're written over here. I'm not going to show you how to craft these. You just hit them with the Eldritch currency until you hit the ones you want. You can go for a Scorch in your boots. I like the ones that I've written over here, so that's good. I mentioned a small note over here which says that you do not need a level 4 Enlighten at any point in this build until you go for very, very high-end versions. If you want to run the auras that I'm running along with Purity of Fire, you can do that if you just get a helmet with Deafening Essences of Loathing along with your ashes. Right, I'm using Screaming Essences of Loathing, which is why I have to use a Enlighten level 4. I realized this afterwards that if I just use more expensive essences, I could have not needed to get a level 4 Enlighten, which is 11 divines. So there's that. So that is basically it. I wanted to show you one other quick thing about this build, by the way. This is what the build will look like in a map once you have relatively decent gear. So I'm going to open up a map. I will out the map to make it a bit more something. That's good enough. We open the map, we go in. taking a while to load in because this is my this is technically my first map, and it takes a while sometimes. So yeah, if I have I don't even have one ring equipped, but as you can see, I can tank basically everything. I have enough regen, then I immediately go up. All the damage from monster hits are poisoning me, but I can't have more than 3 poisons on me at one time because of my Pantheon here. This one, 3% less duration of poisons, and you can't be poisoned while there are at least 3 poisons. And debuffs on me expire faster, so they drop off pretty quickly. Right, now one other thing, if I turn Purity of Fire off, right, I will start taking a decent chunk of damage because I have my Watcher's Eye converting 10% of my physical damage from hits taken as fire damage. Right now I have 89% maximum fire rest, that's going to give me a lot. If I take this off, you'll see that I'm still relatively okay. I just take like a larger hit, but then I heal it back up, which is pretty good. But if your map is extra rippy, if you do have an extra rippy map, you can die. You cannot just stand still in big packs. Right, so do keep that in mind if you're going on a lower budget without an Ashes. Obviously, if you're going to be running on a 30 to 40 divine budget, you can just tank the entire map like this. Go stand over here so more things can hit me. So I want to show you one more thing. I'm going to take off the other ring as well. I'm still tanking everything, right? And I'm going to take off my belt, and this might be where it gets a bit spooky and I might die, or I might live. I'm still tanking everything. So as you can see, you don't really need your rings, you don't need your belt. You can play this wherever, and I'm going to insta-kill this entire pack with 1 or maybe 2 hits. I killed everything except for this Aberrath touched mob because obviously those are extra tanky. And that takes a few more and it's gone. So, as you can see, it's pretty strong and it's still pretty fast as well. That is why we don't need Loop Speed, because we have our Leap Slam taking us everywhere we need to go. This is the boss. This is gone. And I'll show you, we cannot, however, tank a breach without our things. As you can see, breach mobs are pretty strong. We can't tank breach mobs without our Purity of Fire. We can kill everything in a breach if we are actually attacking them, because we do kill things faster than they can hit us, but you get the idea. So that is it, and I'll see you if you guys have any questions in the comments.